Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today we're bringing you a preview of Perch from Inside Up Games.
Disclaimer, this is a sponsored preview, and this is a prototype that you see in front of you, so things are subject to change.
Now, like always, we'll have a link at the top of the video description over to the Kickstarter campaign, and we have a gameplay coming out as well. So if our preview has not convinced you, go watch us peck each other to a never-ending demise.
Yes.
What, newly married couple. What are we going to do? We're going to sit, we're going to play games, we're going to peck each other.
Just two birds on a wire.
Yeah, we're just going to fight constantly. It's just like squawking quite a lot.
So, Jesse, what is Perch?
Perch is a area control worker placement? It's not worker placement. It's an area control point scoring game where you're doing your best to squabble over different regions of the land with birds that you're drawing from a bag. You're always going to have two of your own birds, but you're never going to quite know what mixture's in here because every round you're going to be adding two of everyone's, and you're going to draw two out. Like right here, I drew one of mine and one of yours. Then we'll go through turns, placing birds down in different areas on the board, trying to squabble over different special abilities, characters like the Scarecrow, Red Fox, or Owl, and varying different point scoring mechanics like how valuable the tile is if you're first, second, or third place, and trust me, you don't always want to be first, how valuable the fountain is if you get kicked off your perch, and how valuable some of the end-game scoring objectives are, like having the tallest bird stack or controlling some of these animals towards the end of the game. Along with that, there's going to be a lot of player interaction, ways to kick people off the board, ways to steal points from each other, and because I get to play down other players' birds, ways to adjust their control in areas they might not need it.
There's also a lot of powers and abilities out on the board. So in addition to scoring the locations where you have the most control, second most control, and third most control, you are also going to, the first player at the person who has the most control in that location will be able to have that location's ability. And the locations vary from game to game. There's a number of locations that you choose randomly from the start of the game, depending on player count, and those go out. And so your creatures change, your locations change, the points on the sides of the tile change. Everything is changing from game to game.
Yeah, there's a lot of variability here. And painted over all the top of it is a very adorable theme, a bird stacking mechanic, which is quite charming when you get into it. It reminds me of Earth, how you just stacking up those forest pieces on the board. It makes a very nice display in front of you. And I'm excited to see what else they have here. This feels like a game where there could be a lot of little twists and turns and fun little fan-made included stuff that they do during the Kickstarter project itself with the special abilities on the tile. And I can't wait to see if this is the only characters we're getting or if there's going to be more variations and more interesting mechanics that get pulled out here.
So to go into more detail about your turn structure, like Jesse was saying, you're going to start out the game with a certain number of birds inside the bag, and then you're going to take two of your own.
At the beginning of the round, everyone will put two into the bag.
Yep.
So that happens every round.
Yep. And then you draw birds out. First player goes first and draws two birds out of the bag and gets two birds in addition to their own. So they would draw out two birds. Oh, look, they got bird brain and they got one of Jesse's. And then you would take out two birds as well.
Now, there are some special abilities. Like we just played a game where Shiro was adding three birds to the bag every round and then drawing three and choosing two.
And leaving the other bird in the bag because the birds in the bag will score a point at the end of the game. They're not just lost there forever. Then you will take turns placing out a bird on a location, trying to vie for control or take control away from someone else. One of the other unique things in this game is that ties take away points from everybody tied, including end game if you play the most vicious mode.
Yeah, you don't get the control of the creature, you don't get the points that are there, you don't get anything. And the other person, the third person or the fourth person that's playing the game,
might be the only one who's scoring there.
They might be the only one that scores anything in that location. So you can actually equal people out and be cruel to people by giving them a bird.
Yes.
Here, why don't you just have one more at this location? Don't you love it?
So putting a bird brain down in this location would actually take away the ability from Jesse and any points should there have been a point in that top location.
Yeah.
No one scores, no one gains the benefit there. Then there's also going to be some special powers and abilities that come into play. Should you control a creature from the beginning of the round, you can choose to use it on any one of your turns once for that round.
Like the Red Fox here, for instance, who will be able to move two locations, never doubling back, and then clear two birds off of each location he passed.
One bird on each location for a total of two birds.
Language has never been my strong suit. These birds will go over here either into the fountain or into the plaza if the fountain's already full, scoring endgame victory points in a increasing number of value, which means you're weighing, when you take birds off the board, area control here versus victory points over here.
Yeah, so sometimes it might be in your best interest to place your opponent's birds on the very bottom rung where they're only scoring 1 point
Yellow
in
chickadees
order to prepare it for your very superior birds on the top 4 and 6
delicious.
rows.
They're delicious. Hey, if you've never baked a yellow chickadee, try it.
Then later in rounds 4 and 5, there's going to be 2 other special components that come out. You are going to, in round 4, get a little house. And then in round 5, you are going to get a lightning bolt. Your birdhouse caps your tower. So you cannot put any more birds on that tower, but you cannot have any taken off.
Yeah.
Either willingly or unwillingly. Then the lightning bolt is basically electrocuting one of the birds.
It's a free zap.
They go to the fountain, or
Now,
if there's no more room in the fountain, the plaza.
You could use this to hurt other players, or if you're already up high on the fountain, you could use this as a way to get your bird into the position you need it to be in to score those additional victory points.
You can also place your birdhouse on another player's stack, and that prevents them from adding birds to their stack.
So, the game's going to continue like that. You're going to play through 5 rounds.
Placing
You're
out
going to be placing 4 birds per round, giving you a total of
20 birds out. Should
and it doesn't
anything
seem
change?
like that much.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest, it gets pretty tight very quickly.
It gets pretty crowded in some of these locations
Yeah.
very, very quickly.
So, that's a basic overview of this, but in our previews, we also like to highlight things that like stand out about the game.
Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that stands out to me are the different locations. There are so many unique locations that you get to mix and match every single time. And so, there's more basic locations that count your nests count as +1 birds to your flock, but they have different, if you notice, every single one of them has a different amount of points in that upper right corner, so they're also constantly changing. Then you have a bunch of other different creatures. You have the hawk's nest. The hawk moves to any other location, and then he sends 1 bird from his location to the fountain. You would have the dog. The dog moves to an adjacent location and moves 1 bird from that location in any other direction away from the dog. So he's kind of just chasing you around the board. You're not necessarily sending the birds to the fountain, but you're changing control.
If you scatter them off the side of the board.
You could, if you scatter them off the side of the board. Then you've got your bee over here. Move the bee at least 2 locations away, and then move 1 color-matched bird from any other location to the bee's locations. He's kind of pulling birds to him.
Hey, if you're a buzzer, leave a comment down below. You know who you are.
Then you have a cuckoo bird. Your cuckoo bird is swapping a bird from the location where the cuckoo bird stops with a bird from any other location. The last one that they have in the prototype is going to be the cat, and the little kitty cat. From the location where the cat stops, send 1 bird to the fountain and move 1 bird 1 location in any direction. He's kind of combining some of them, like the dog, and other birds that send birds to the fountain. You also have these little cool, cute little player pieces.
Yeah, I like the little
acrylics.
candies.
Yep.
Very cute.
And then you have all of these special locations as well. The special locations just kind of change the way the game plays. So the 2 special locations we had in our game was adding an extra bird into the bag. And when you draw birds from the bag, you get to draw 3, keep 2, and return the other one. You have ones where if this location has 4 more birds, they all go to the plaza, which is just 1 point each.
It's kind of fun.
You have one where the person to the left of the most birds becomes the first player. That alternates first player. You have, if this location has 7 or more birds, send all the birds on this location to the plaza and remove this location. It just goes poof.
An oversized birdhouse.
But notice, look at, you want to be 3rd here because of the points on. Every single tile has a different amount of points, and so it's all a different mind game of this tile, the lonely elm tree. First player gets 5 points. Second gets none, and 3rd gets 2.
Yeah.
This one, the round start, you may swap 1 unperched bird with another player's unperched bird. You're kind of just swapping birds. The player with the most birds at this location sends 1 bird to the fountain. First place scores 1 + 1 victory point for every 2 birds on this location, rounded down, but it has 2 nests here. And the last location, round start, all players with exactly 2 birds at this location may place 1 extra bird in the bag. The player with the most birds sends 1 to the fountain.
Interesting.
So if you're tied, it's interesting. If you're tied, you don't get the ability. Then you're not the most birds. It's crazy. It's such an interesting twist.
So some of the mechanics that I really like on here, there's going to be two things that stand out to me. First off, I really like the fact that you're drawing birds from this bag. You get your consistent 2 every round, but then you have to make good decisions based off of the other birds that come out of the bag. If you're playing a higher player count, like 4 or 5 players, you actually have the crux of like, how do I want to place other players' birds out on the table? Because I'm more likely to draw their birds than I am to draw my own. So in a situation like that, you might be making other people fight with each other or trying to change the values or tie something up so that, you know, another player has to play one of their birds there and they might ignore one of the spots where you don't want them to play down their bird next to you. It really, really creates this infighting, and it creates a dynamic around the table where you're trying to get other people to be more worried about other players around the table
than you.
Than you.
While
than
you're
the person
secretly
that's sitting
taking
right
5
there.
points from every location every round.
Yeah. It's very nice. Now, the other thing that I think stands out about this game is this is a very cute, very accessible game with a decent bit of take that and strategy. But I don't find that the take that feels bad. There's a difference between take that. Like, take that and Summit sometimes feels cruel. Sometimes the game is throwing an avalanche at you and ripping you apart. Sometimes, you know, the other players are destroying your walkie-talkie and dropping you off a cliff or building the track in front of you in a way that just doesn't let you climb up. This has bits of that. This has areas where I am totally ruining the game for you. I am screwing you over. I am stealing points. And at the same time, because of the dynamic between players, because everyone is involved because of the bag drawing mechanic in placing other people's birds out there, and everyone's incentivized to squabble for area control and trade locations back and forth, I never feel like it's maybe mean or intentional. The game makes you do it.
Take that starts to feel bad when you feel like you don't have a comeback. In this game, you always feel like the next round you were going to able to make a comeback. Even if you can't, you still feel like you have that opportunity because you get those birds thrown out of the bag that are not always your colors. They can mess up other people, and they can be advantageous to you. So you always feel like you have a chance. Another thing we didn't get to talk about is that every player will have a hidden objective at the beginning of the game. Some of these hidden objectives are control at least one location with the word tree in the name. So like the lonely elm tree, the peeling birch trees. Or control the location which has the largest number of birds, which coincidentally happens to be one of the end game scoring things. At the end of the game, at the end of the 5th round, you're going to be going through the end game scoring where the player who controls the location with the most birds gets 10 points. Anyone who had controlled a creature that last round gets 3 points. You get to tally the points from the birds in the fountain, and then every bird in the plaza gets 1.
So there you have it. It's a quick overview and breakdown of Perch. Like I said, we have a gameplay out, and I'm sure there's a lot of other channels that are going to be doing excellent coverage of this. Please follow the link in the top of the video description if you want to find out more about this game. Swing over to the Kickstarter and see everything that Inside Up has planned. They usually run very fun, very interactive, very engaged with the community campaigns, and so I'm excited to see what they're playing with here because there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of room for very fun interactivity.
I want to see who can build the tallest number of birds without it getting destroyed or toppling over.
Tallest bird stack?
Yes, tallest bird stack.
Okay. Great. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Whatever the case.
Whatever you do, remember
to do the important thing.
Build the tallest bird stack
Yeah.
without it falling over, without a base. Can you do it without a base?
They're a little wobbly without a base. Remember, prototype copies.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
How high can you get?
Are
you claiming you can get? Like they're with a bird nest. It's much easier.
I'm sure it is.
I was able to get to like 5 without a bird nest, but here with a bird nest, I can really get up there.
With a bird nest, you got to 5.
Yeah, without a bird nest, I got to 5. With a bird nest, I am soaring to the sky. Look at this. Look at these cute little guys. I completely underestimated how adorable I'd find the bird stacking mechanic when we first played this game. And then I started putting them on each other, and I was like...
Check this out. No bird stack.
Are your reds just perfectly balanced?
Yeah.
Well, look at mine. With a bird nest.
Yeah. I am alternating the direction I do them in every single time.
You're being careful to... whereas I'm just haphazard up. You know, they look cuter, though, when you're haphazard about it. Your system of perfectly balanced birds is not realistic to nature. You know.
Ah!